so tired that I almost do not trust my neurons to fire correctly and construct sentences that are sane and coherent. So I have coffee. This is my second cup of coffee, and I gotta say, it's not doing much. I am trying to calm my hair down today. It's a little wild woman. This little chunk is sticking out. What can you do? I did ask ChatGPT if there's maybe a better haircut for me, because I cut my own hair because I don't want to spend money. And then ChatGPT gave me this image, which is terrifying, and it makes me never want to cut my hair, so I'm never cutting my hair. My hair is fine. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, that was very important. We're going to talk about something else equally as important, hopefully. And that is something that I have noticed throughout my life, but I only recently have the words for. Do you know Mushu? Yes, you heard me correctly. Mushu. Mushu the dragon, who is Milan's little helper. You know how Disney puts these little creatures or some kind of helper with our protagonists, like in Beauty and the Beast, it's the little teapots and the clock and stuff. And then in Pocahontas, it's that raccoon. And in Milan, it's Mushu the dragon. Well, in my head, all of those little creatures, I don't know if this has a name in fiction, like that archetype or that type of character, supporting character. In my head, I call them all Mushu. Like the fish and the crab and Ariel is just like the aquatic Mushus. You know what I'm saying? Like every Disney movie has a Mushu in it. And lately, I have felt a bit like the Mushu in life. And what I mean by this is that I've been going out, socializing, and I've been helping organize events for lesbians in the city. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I have felt kind of like the Mushu, where I'm this kind of side character who is very supportive, and I listen to a lot of the women, and I'm just around, and I kind of organize things and support them, and I hear stories, and I watch things, I see things happen in their love life and stuff. And I've been noticing this phenomena that I've seen no matter where I've lived in any age demographic over and over and over. And a lesson I think that I have learned by reflecting on my own life and watching the lives of others is that having internal romantic fantasies or expectation and visualization and feelings about somebody, that is an internal project, and we all must be accountable for that project. And I have seen the consequences of when people are not very accountable to their inner romantic fantasies. And this video is going to be about that. And I'm going to talk about those fantasies. I'm going to talk about situations that I have seen play out, and from the vantage point of the Mushu, give my preliminary findings and analysis on what is driving this behavior, which I think is very, very common. So the first time I saw this happen, it was actually in college, or that's when I paid attention to it. And me and my best friend would get in line, like in the cafeteria, to get sandwiches, and a guy working behind the counter was very into my friend, and he would strike up a conversation. And at the time, even I didn't know that he was into her that way. He was just very friendly, but he did give her special attention, and she was very nice to him, but didn't engage in any behavior that I thought was flirtatious in any way. Long story short, after many interactions, he takes the position of, hey, like, you know, when are we gonna go out on a date, pretty much. And she was essentially completely caught off guard, completely bothered. And when she rejected him, because she didn't have those feelings, he, instead of being accountable, he got kind of irritated and implied that she had maybe led him on, which is a wild situation because we're just in line to get a sandwich and being polite. I was equally as polite, but of course I'm not the object of his projection, so my politeness is not read as flirtation, but hers, because she is the object of his desire, she receives his projections, and so she is the one that is leading him on. That's an example of this, and I've seen it all over the place. I have seen it with some of my female friends who they're really thinking a guy is into them, and I look at the evidence, because we do that kind of forensics where we lay all the evidence out and we're like, does she not, you know, did he mean this, did he mean this, you know. In the forensic analysis, I would say I don't think he is meaning this that way, but you watch people believe it, and then I would watch other friends tell them, no, he definitely likes you, only to be rejected. And then there's bitterness and the deep discomfort, and people cannot handle it. I've always noticed that, but it's really been lately. It's been lately that the pieces have fallen into place, and I have realized that what is essentially happening is that one person, this is kind of like in the apocalypse. If we were to lose all of our literature and books and we had to start over from scratch, this is kind of what psychology would look like, where we would say, we begin with a person. Actually, yes. We begin with a person. Here's the person. Do you see? Okay. And now the person has a need. All have needs, you know what I mean? So we need something. We need to be desired. We need to be accepted and belong, and we need to be needed. So we have this intense need, and I think what's happening is that people say, oh, I want to be desired so badly. I want attention so badly, and they encounter somebody else who makes them feel very good. You know, you meet people and sometimes they just make you feel very seen, comfortable, comforted, make you feel important, They make you feel excited, curious. Okay? So you've got person 1, they have a need, lots of needs. And then they meet person 2, who just makes them feel good. Okay? Now, that's pretty much all that has occurred. And that's great. It's good to feel good and for somebody to introduce positive things into your life. But here's where things get tricky. And I've noticed as the Mushu, I've watched women do it. I've watched men do it as well, but I hang out more with women, so I see it more. The person who has needs, instead of thinking, oh, I feel really good, this person makes me feel good. That's nice. Maybe I'll explore that. They take the less active approach of putting their self-esteem and their worth and their essence kind of and packaging it up like a little fragile egg. And then they take that and they put their little fragile vulnerability and self-esteem and all that hope and desire. They're building up this fantasy, they're crafting this little egg, and they put it like on this lily pad. They jelly it, set it down in the other person's aura. But the other person, who probably is not aware of this, is just having a good time. So they're just moving around, dancing around, and they smack the egg, and there it goes. They're splashing in the pond. They're having a good time. They don't know that they've been handed this little fragile, vulnerable package of self-worth and esteem. And so they break it. They just, oops. They do something like talk about their crush, who is completely different, or they outright reject the person. And then the person's self-esteem and need, this little egg, it's just drowned, it's buried, and this other person was just completely not aware of it. Again, this is apocalypse psychology. If we had to start over from scratch, we'd be remaking the DSM. We would be making psychology from scratch. And this is the term we would use to describe vulnerability, is an egg, a seashell. Something valuable, which somebody else can disregard because they don't know that you've done that and that you've crafted all this fantasy, and it's very breakable. In the face of that, the person with needs tends to get very angry. They're like, ah. And instead of feeling shame and embarrassment, that is like transmuted into anger and accusation and saying, no, I was wrong. My fantasies are not built on, for my fundamental needs. My fantasies are built on facts, and that was real. And there's this inability to kind of admit to the fiction in a certain way, and it becomes a mess, and people tend to, it gets weird, it just gets really weird and really awkward and really uncomfortable. As the Mushu, I tend to be the person on the side who is like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, or, in the case of the person who is getting all this anger because they had to reject someone, I have to say, that really sucks that someone is taking their rejection so poorly and being antagonistic. I just saw this happen again, where I'm friends with a woman, and I was talking to her, and she had taken up a friendship with another woman, and the two decided to maybe try and go on a date. But my friend realized that it was moving too fast because the other woman was already wanting to go on vacation together, intertwine, essentially, do everything together and this and that. It was kind of talking about the future, and of course that freaked my friend out. and she asked the other woman, she said, "Can we slow this down? I don't feel comfortable taking things this fast." And instead of realizing that this involves two people, the other woman got really mad at her and said, "You're leading me on. I can't believe I fell for it, and you don't really even like me, and I don't want to talk to you again." And now the two don't talk. They didn't even know each other very long, and they have a no contact policy. That is such a waste, and it's so extreme. It could be resolved, I think, with some diplomacy, if there was some accountability for those inner romantic fantasies that had clearly taken place, in order for her to feel comfortable jumping from one date to let's go on vacation together and do everything together. What I have concluded, seeing everything and, floating from person to person and taking my Mushu insights home with me and thinking on them, is that I think having inner romantic fantasies is common, and that of course people will make you feel a certain way at any given moment, and that those feelings, again, are good. It's nice to know that somebody can make you feel special or important. Now, there's always the case in which someone is intentionally trying to do that and might be manipulative. But from what I have seen, most of the time, you're just encountering people, and some people will make you feel nice, or you'll be interested in them or attracted to them. Those feelings belong to you, and you can't assume that the other person intended that to be the case, and so some care must be taken in building expectation, or some fiction, semi-fiction version of a relationship, or potential attention, or potential anything with another person. Because sometimes it is the case that there's not anything there. There doesn't need to be anything acted upon if something might be there, some mutual attraction. So I believe now that it's a good idea for individuals to maintain some grasp, some grip on their inner fantasies, so that anger, frustration, or consequences to those fantasies are not put on the other person, because the other person's not giving you that. There is some internal fabrication going on, I think, sometimes. Do you hear the rain? It's raining out. It's perfect sleepy day weather. It must be said that I really like being the Mushu and going out and seeing all this stuff. I've been on the receiving end of it. I've had people say, "You were, clearly flirting or doing, something," and in my view, my behavior is quite consistent across people, and I've had to clear it up, and sometimes it's been met with antagonism, which is very scary. I told a story on my Patreon exactly about this. It was a woman who, it was really scary. I met her once, and it was a nightmare. So sometimes things happen, and you meet people who are not very accountable in their internal life, and there's not much you can do about it other than keep your distance. But even myself, with anything, trying to be accountable to my inner life, and I watch sometimes people I'm close to not do that, and that's always hard, because it can be hard to tell your friend, like, "Hey, I don't know if this person actually likes you," and I told you, I watch college, this group of girls that I knew, they were so convinced that this guy liked one of them, and they would do this forensics where they, like CSI Miami, break every scrap of evidence down. And I looked at it and I just thought, no way, this guy likes her. He's just a nice guy. Turned out, yes, he did not have those feelings. And I think just to save face, they got really angry at him and even kind of accused him of stuff. It was hard to watch. And the evidence to me just was not there. And this guy was just a really nice guy. It was a mess. Nothing that can't be cleared up with some accountability and some clear communication, but sometimes that can be hard for people. So I have been out and about observing this stuff, and it's weirdly comforting and not as distressing as I thought it would be to see it continuing. There's something about it where I'm like, this is very human, and these kind of expectations and inner fantasies are quite common. And the best way I've seen them handled is when people like keep it compartmentalized, and just recognize it so it makes them feel good, but they don't actually know if that person meant it, and it might not mean much, but it's still just nice to enjoy someone's company, or you can get your hopes up, and that's okay. And it's okay if the other person's not on the same page, and that's okay. And it's alright. You don't have to give that to them to hold. You don't need to, like, give them that, your self-esteem. You don't need to give another person your vulnerability and your sense of self-worth. You keep that to you. You hold that. And if you're disappointed, it's not, you didn't give that to someone else. You still have your self-esteem and your self-respect. And, you can move through the world and it's gonna be okay. It's never a good idea to give someone else all your self-esteem. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I was thinking about that this morning and about how I really feel like Mushu lately. And it's quite nice. I like being the supportive one who's just kind of around, and is helpful and helps out. But people are nuts and are always going to be nuts and have always been nuts. It's deeply comforting and strange and interesting to watch and messy, definitely messy. It is gently raining outside. It's so nice. All the Mushus of the world hopefully are inside. Are you a Mushu? I think we all take our turn being the Mushu in someone else's life. And when we come home and we put on our regular clothes, sit down alone at our computers and in front of our notebooks, and we reflect on the world and think, then we go out and become the Mushu and suspend our own needs sometimes to support others. And it's quite nice to be the side character, the random, B-roll person who just is around and can be of use. I like that a lot. I like to be the Mushu, and I think it's important to be the best Mushu that you can in this world. Very important stuff. So, anyway, that is just kind of a quick thing. What I need to do, if we're starting over in psychology, if this is like an apocalypse scenario, and we're truly, all the knowledge of the world is gone and we're having to use our neurons to make new connections, I wonder if individuals who are inclined to that, if that's related to attachment styles. You know what I mean? I don't know if it is. I'm probably not going to think about it or reflect on that at all. having asked the question, I will now not be thinking about it or answering it. If you've made it to this part of the video, now is an excellent time to tell you that I got some lab work done, and the results are in. I am passing almost every class except for I am very anemic. So, in the extracurricular department, I need to take iron supplements, and I'm pretty much exhausted. Now, I'm tired today because I stayed up way too late, and I had so much caffeine yesterday. But I have been iron deficient for a long time, and it explains why I've been taking naps every day. So, I just wanted to tell you that I'm anemic. It's very important that you know that. I should announce it to the whole world, really. I should make a Twitter account, whatever it's called. Just get that out there. That way everyone can sleep at night. I already have enough identity labels. I'm gonna add that into my bio. Lesbian, queer, anemic. Anyway, I hope that no matter where you are, day or night, I hope that no matter if it's raining out or it's sunny out, that you are able to get some rest and relaxation. Everybody needs a break from being the main character or from being the Mushu, and I hope that you're having some rest right now and are able to relax. So, thank you so much, as always, for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you back